I think often we have said this, that you look at the athlete on the podium with one of the medals. That's what people want. But they don't think about the lifelong journey to get there. They look at the billionaires and that's what they want. They don't look at the 60 years to get there, the 40 years of business to get there. Because if you're hanging out on social media, what does it look like? Oh, I could do that tomorrow. Let me get to work. I'm a little bit tongue in cheek in that, but that's often what it seems like.
Or let me buy a lottery ticket.
Oh, I know. Let me buy a lottery ticket. So that's the other option, which is, let's just roll the dice and gamble. There are those rare occasions where somebody does it overnight. It was interesting, again, in this podcast that I listened to, it was such a cool thought process, is that this particular podcast, and I'm not that I don't want to give it credit, but I don't remember the name of the podcast. Cody Sanchez was a guest, but that was not the podcast. That was just Cody Sanchez being a guest, and she's
Is it
remarkable.
Diary of a CEO?
No, that's not what it is.
I think, yeah.
Point is, doesn't matter. I'll put it in the show notes. If you come to YouTube, I'll make sure it's in the description. The point is this, is she sees in what she does, and believe me, she's an off the charts in the world of podcasts, in the world of business, crazy what she's accomplished and done at a very young age. Really quite remarkable, but she doesn't negate how hard a work it's been and how much time and energy she puts into it. So back to what I was trying to say, is that we're driven by what we see. So many are driven by what we see in terms of, the Bentley, the Rolls Royce, the private plane. That looks, like all of the stars, all of the superstars. They don't talk about how they got there. They don't talk about the business deals they did. They don't talk about the privilege perhaps they had. What they do is we buy into the hook called, oh, look at the Bentley, look at the Rolls Royce, look at the private airplane, look at the mansion, look at the people I hang out with. And there's this illusion that that's what you're working for, when in fact, what did they have to do to get there? And that's where they step over it. But guess what? Those podcasts was really interesting. If you look at the most successful stars, for example, and we're off on a tangent, sorry, but you can look at any number of TikTokers, for example. And in this example, they used The Rock. She did a study, because that's what she does. One of the things she does on Successful Business Guys, she looked at The Rock and looked at all his TikTok. And do you know that in his TikTok videos, and I don't follow The Rock, I don't know this to be true, I just am repeating what I heard, and she's seen it with others. Point is this, 80% of his videos where he's at the gym, working out, being cool, have a very direct or subliminal message from one of the businesses that he owns or invests
in. Or all
in.
of his businesses.
Yeah, or any of them, right? But 80% of his videos have something in that segment. And he'll be sipping some tequila, which is totally not in the topic at all of what he's talking about, but it's that subliminal, subconscious message. And that's how he's building, one of the ways he's, becoming, or has become, the billionaire that he is. And I mean, he's just one example of many. And the point is, that is the hook, is the outcome of this Bentley, the outcome of the jet. But he's not talking about, and many are not sharing, what it took to get there, number one. And the quietest billionaires, multi-millionaires, are quietly not doing anything in the public social platform space. They just go about their business, and they don't want to be even seen or heard or talked about. So, and that's, by the way, statistically, that's what's proven. I don't know what my whole point of all of this is, but I thought it might be an interesting story.
No, it totally is. And I started listening to her, like Cody Sanchez. She's maybe 35, if that.
Yeah.
If you want to follow her, she's quite
Cool.
brilliant in what she does. I think what I'm getting from what you're saying too is that who we're being and the outcomes that we have, is it aligned and is it connected with what we say we want, with what we say and who we are? I mean, I haven't been on social media for 3 years since I started getting taken down from Facebook because I was, speaking my truth and saying things that maybe the overlords weren't happy with. So I just stopped. And then I had a friend or a cousin not long ago say, "Oh, wow, Steffany's really gone dark, hey?" I'm like, I haven't gone dark. I'm
Mhm.
just maybe not promoting all the stuff that I used to do on social media. I would like to consider, let's do a challenge. Let's do a challenge. Let's post on social media the most boring things and the morning breath and the ugliest things that are going on and see how many followers we get,
Well, I
right?
know why we know the results of that. So,
Exactly.
okay.
Exactly. So take a look. If we're going back to mindset, we're going back to personal power and life and business, we also have to decide what we're going to be authentic around, because if we're only just even following those things that we think that we want, the bling, the planes, the the Dennis Johnson, what's his name, Dwayne Johnson, the rock lifestyle, that to me is, I'm not interested. It's, to me, it's unsustainable. It's I don't want that kind of pressure. What I do want is to connect with people, to have a purpose, to support people being their best selves, to allow the conversation to occur without all that extraneous distraction. It's so important to me that even in our coaching and our shift programs, or even with the athletes, back circling back to the athletes, is that the reason some of them don't believe in themselves is because they spent so much time on social media.
Social media, I think, is one that I've opting out of more and more. Certainly, we share the podcast, and I'm quite active on Twitter. But from a sharing personal stuff on social media, I don't do a lot of that. You'll see pictures of the dogs, or maybe when I'm traveling on business. So the point is that that's just not who we are. But that doesn't make anybody who likes that wrong. It's only to say that we've gotten really clear on what is meaningful to us and what matters to us. Back to something that you said, I think has to be pointed out again, is what are you from your most authentic self? So, in other words, are you being a certain way because that's what you think it'll take to be liked? Is it something that you
Mm.
think needs to be successful, whatever you define success? Have you even defined what success means for you? And then if it is a lot of money, what is driving a lot of money? Now, I listen, we love to make money, make no mistake about that. But we're also really clear that for us, it's not about buying more cars or another car or bling, and it's just not where we are in our life. That has to do, I think, with something to do with our age. He's certainly, when we were 30 and 40 and 50, there was still probably a part of that we were building our life and what we wanted in our life, the foundation of it. Today we're operating from a different place where we want to continue to live our purpose, but we're not connected or as attached to whatever revenue we generate. It's supporting our life, not buying more stuff to ensure to walk. That's just where we're at. That's at least how I feel about it. The point of all of that is to say this, is that, are you that clear on
Mhm.
what it is that you're trying to create your business around, why you're trying to create it? Are you understanding what your mission, what your vision is, what drives you, what lights you up? Are you a technician right today and then wanting to be a business owner and even understand what that means? Because if you don't, then that will get in your way. Let me assure you that
Mhm.
I've been on that path many times.
Well, it's funny that you say that, and I think as we bring this one home, is that if we circle back to the intention of this podcast, is that we want to connect people to these conversations that we're having, and maybe they're having them in their own head, or
Hmm.
their own, you're having these conversations with your own business associates, your family members, is that where in the world do you have the space to unpack this kind of stuff, to actually ask the questions?
Yeah.
What does success mean to me? Do I have to have more stuff, more followers, more this, more that? Is my life externally driven? Am I only looking for approval? Because I don't want to step over what you said, is that if that is driven by approval and I'm only feeling successful because people like me, or people right now like me,
Yeah.
then it can get really shallow. And what makes me nervous is that that's creating a great divide around the external motivation and that internal kind of drive and motivation that it really does take to make decisions, take decisions, align with your values, and really work through your life so that it supports your business, and work through your business so that it supports your life.